And now, Kyle and Steven present another episode of the Go F Yourself podcast. It's Fix. Really? Well, that's embarrassing. The Go Fix Yourself podcast.
Welcome to the Go Fix Yourself podcast, the podcast where we are fixing how we view different walks of life, one conversation at a time. And as always, I am your co-host, Steven. And sitting to my left is the ninth wonder of Alaska, Kyle Redding.
Ninth. How's it going, everybody? I am so honored to be some sort of wonder of Alaska.
Yes. And today we are excited because in the studio with us, ladies and gentlemen, is the one, the only Byron Nicholai.
How's it going, everyone? How you doing?
Oh, man. We're doing great now that you're here, man.
I'm jealous of everybody. This is one thing. Just on a tangent, I wish I was bilingual. I quit learning another language in like 8th grade because I got screwed over by my Spanish teacher, and I don't want to go into it because it's still a sore subject.
What a way to start the podcast, Kyle.
I just wish that I knew another language because that's, I think, is so powerful, and honestly, it makes you so much more cultured to know 2 languages. I know nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm just...
Well, that's why we're here, man. We're here to learn something from people. We're here to fix our knowledge with, Byron Nicholai here. We're so glad to have you, man. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me here.
There is something we do every podcast. My parents listen to this podcast, Rick and Carol. And they live on the East Coast. They live in New York. That's where I'm from. And they don't know who is up here in Alaska. They don't know who I know. And that's what we say, like, hey, tell Rick and Carol, my parents, who you are and what you do right now.
All right. Well, Anama atcha kangaral raro rata maslu atcho yanglin. Anama ngayokak Moses and Teresa Moses. Teddy and Teresa Moses agok. Ata maslu ngayokak. I'm James and Nina Nicholai agok. So growing up, we were always taught that we should introduce ourselves in our Yupik name and then our parents' parents, and I'll get into that. But what's up? What's up, Rick and Carol?
Yeah,
Rick and Carol. All right. So my name is Byron Nicholai. I'm from Tuksuk Bay, Alaska. And if you don't know where that is, that's on the southwest part of Alaska, a little bit above the the Aleutian Chains. So just to give you a taste of where I'm from, I grew up in a village, and right now there's about 820 people there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm going to spend most of my life there up until I was 18, and I moved out here to Anchorage. And so what you just heard is Yupik, and we were always taught that when we introduce ourselves to other elders or anyone in the villages, you have to introduce yourself by your Yupik name because you could be named after someone that has passed on. So I'm named after my uncle, and then you also have to introduce your parents and then your parents' parents. And so since there are about 28 villages in the area that I'm from, there's going to be a lot of different places that you might go to. And when you see someone in another village and you tell them who your parents are,
right,
they're going to say, "Oh, you're."
It's a connection.
Yeah, you're so and so's kid. So I'm your auntie, and so the Yupi culture is just family, and family is pretty big.
Sure.
Yeah. I have maybe 8 siblings now.
Oh my goodness, you do have a huge family.
Yeah, I do.
Man.
You have 1% of the village population in your family.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Wild, dude.
So what do you do now?
I'm a musician. I rap. I sing. I'm a dancer as well. I drum dance. And it's kind of hard to explain because my origins, they come from Yuraking is what we call it. Mm-hmm. That's if you've ever seen it, that's where there's multiple people on the floor and they're dancing with drummers in the back.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And the dance bands, they're made of seagull or owl wings, and then the dance bands on the woman are made of elk beard, and then the drum skins are made of like a walrus stomach or beluga stomach. So that's what we've done for so many years. I'm a musician. Let's say that. I'm a musician.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, I like to say multidisciplinary artist. This guy always
There you go.
he gives me a hard time because I use it a lot, especially if there's like someone, and I'm very like much like you because I'm like, well, I'm a filmmaker first, but then I like music a lot, but I'm also a designer and I'm also a consultant. Like, it's just like,
I just say talented, I try not to waste all the word.
Yeah.
You're a talented guy. Okay.
and so multidisciplinary artist is like what I was telling people, like, oh, well, I'm a multidisciplinary artist, but I focus on filmmaking, right? For me personally. So that's the same for you, but you're a musician.
I focus on music.
You got that rhythm. You got that. You got the vocals too, which is kind of interesting because that's how I found out about you. How I found out about you is actually I saw a short film at the Anchorage Film Festival, which was, let's shout out the director and the filmmaker, Brad
Hillwig.
And it was just a phenomenal story. And I loved how you guys, like, you brought it back to the village and you did a show there for everybody and everybody pulled up and like on 4-wheelers and stuff. Yeah. And so I don't even think I told you, maybe I did. Yeah, I did tell you because I was like, we got to have this guy on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I told you the story. And so maybe tell a little bit about that, filming, that short film really quick, and then kind of that quick little story, and then we can go into like the nitty-gritty stuff and get back into how you got into music and all that stuff.
So I met Brad earlier, I think last year. It might have been in January or February, and we went out for some coffee, and he has it's just like National dual kasoma so he knew that I made music, and what he wanted to do was create a project, a documentary, and where it was kind of focusing on how I made my music and that it's in my language. And it's a little bit difficult because everything that I did for that album, Mayaganaga, was on my own. And so he wanted to see just kind of the process, and he saw the success from the album. And so I told him about a dream that I had, is that I wanted to go to Tuksuk, where I grew up in, to do a show. And when I told him about that, we were just kind of going back and forth on it, and we decided that we were going to do that. And it was a little bit tricky because all of that costs money.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can drive to Tuksuk. You have to take 2 airplanes. And so that would be about round trip, maybe almost 1,200.
Where is Tuksuk? So point it on my
middle finger.
So like up here?
At the coast, yeah. Right there.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Okay, so you are way up there.
Yeah.
For the people watching, and if you're not watching this on YouTube, go for it. But there it is. Zoom in on
right
that,
there.
PJ.
Yeah,
Zoom in on that. Yeah,
that's how you know someone's from Alaska, is when they pull that up.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
Yeah. It's like Michigan does this. Yeah.
They do that?
Yeah. Something like that.
Freaking
I don't know.
losers. Hey. Look at our cool state.
Oh, we just lost all of our Michigan listeners.
I love you guys.
Wow. Kyle.
Hey.
Delete. Like, oh, man. Kyle just got canceled.
We'll cut that part out.
Just in Michigan only.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're up there. So you have to take 2 flights to get there. Mm-hmm. So it's not cheap. Is what you're saying.
It's
and
not
so
cheap.
To do this dream that, because I thought that was a beautiful way to end that short film too. Because I was like, man, it would be really cool if he goes back. And then you did. I was like, okay, cool. It's like good storytelling, first off. But also it was really cool to see you in your element and with people, and everybody was smiling and stoked. And so, yeah, you did a show for your hometown, your home village. And so that was really cool to kind of see. And so that's how I got to know who you are. And then I started listening to music and kind of getting into what you're doing. And then that's just a small portion of what you do. I think like there's so much, right? So your music is kind of what got you into my ears, but also like got you into, other people's interests and short films. But you're rapping and you're singing in your own language, which is very like, it's its own culture, right? You're pushing that forward, but it's its own statement. as well. And so not only are you making music that actually means something to you, but you're making a statement along with it. And it's beautiful. And it's like, hey, like, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. And so I think that's really cool. So we're really stoked to have you on, like I said before. But yeah, so you're a Yupik musician is what you would say?
Yeah, Yupik musician.
And then actually, do you want to play a song right now?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's just get into it so people can understand kind of what you sound like. And then we'll go back. And like I said, I keep saying this, but then we'll go back and figure out what you got.
To the day you're born. Okay, we're going to go way back.
Yeah. So you want to listen to the first one from the bottom?
Yeah.
All right. You got this? I'm already hyped.
Wadna jagni qatak tukukingan magsugto Jali akum gashim nigingan Igach tipo Jamak kanak Ngai toa kawitarin nashung ritu Jamak shubaf tiguma nashung rita Kabi yuch tipo Takaru tiran dashunga Kanaken Jimich tira kadarin Rakwang duna yok kamang Jali like the lisnout Kwang nito wam lisngan Run ritu Dafi hudam ganoni Dukit diksay togingan doni Mayoch no hui magaya ma Das hunga junu na jog ma Ayang is hunga ganake Mayoch no hui magaya ma Das hunga junu na jog ma Ayang is hunga ganake Mayoch no hui magaya ma Das hunga junu Parutana Esai sungwi ayu perito Kanet fani nashungokto Dortmani chiquito Ayaku machugin ang jaman unique gangsto Asika padamana nuna jali ayak yugako Jali beri shiru Jali beri shiru Guguya ram Nashurida singi jugni mako Ayang yashami wita shkode gishu daso Marvin Yapana bekatak duku Yashamda Aduk parach tushini alukako Jali aduk pashkada sharai bakapu Mayoch to hui magaya ma Das hunga junu na jog ma Ayang is hunga ganake Mayoch to hui magaya ma Das hunga junu na jog ma Ayang is hunga
Let's go, baby.
And so that's what you played for John Kerry, right? We'll get into that later.
Yeah. That's good.
John's back there.
Yeah.
Just getting down with it. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's so good. I freaking love it. It gets me hyped. I was listening to it on the way over, too, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, fucking subs were going off, man.
So what's that? Obviously, we don't understand the lyrics to that. So what is that song kind of about?
Just starting from the bottom.
Okay, perfect.
You know,
now we hear
from the village. I mean, it's it's really the mud because there's no gym out there. There's no restaurants. There's no theater.
Yeah.
There's like not really anything that you could do out there besides shoot your guns or go on your 4-wheels or snow machines.
Right.
And so, I feel like that's really kind of the bottom because you hear people say they started from the bottom, and it's kind of hard to be in the village. I mean, I've had people who went to the village and they did not like it at all.
Sure.
It's hard to be there.
I would imagine.
And so the chorus,
very isolated, yeah.
The chorus is I'm climbing up from the mud. I came from a small land. I started from the bond. I started from the bottom.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah, let's get into like the origins of like being from the village as like a young child. What did you learn first? English or is Yupik is
Yupik, yeah.
Everybody out there speaks that.
Everybody, yeah.
And how many people do you think speak Yupik in the world?
Probably,
do you know a roughly number? Because I know
10,000.
10,000?
Yeah,
because I know a lot of, they talk about the languages. Some languages are dying or becoming less people knowing them because it's not being spread to the kids, and the kids aren't learning languages that have been around forever. And so I was fascinated because I was like, oh, he's doing it in his native tongue. And so that's going to show people that it's cool to still know your language from the culture that you grew up in.
Well, it's also a time capsule too.
Well, for sure.
Right? It's like it'll last for, as long as servers.
As long as the internet's around.
Yeah, I'll say as long as the internet's around, people got speakers,
It's like a whole library on there.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like we're I guess we're grateful and we're blessed that we live in this time that we can do stuff like that and then just upload it for everybody to hear, and national or, international or whatever. So I think that's really cool. So it is a time capsule of sorts. But okay, so you learned Yupik first, and then I'm fascinated because where did music come into play? You're out there. You said, what do you want to shoot guns and get on your 4-wheelers and snow machines. Like, where did the art come in? Where did the creativity? Where did you get that?
I loved dancing growing up, and I've always been singing for as long as I can remember. I used to sing the theme song to Elmo's World as a kid. And,
oh yeah,
my parents would have me come over and do my little song, and then I was drumming and dancing up until I still drum and dance today. They actually had us start in preschool. It's part of the school curriculum.
Oh.
So from preschool all the way to when you graduate, that's, it's part of the school. So it's something that you have to do. And growing up, I never wanted to actually do it, just because it was part of, school.
Right.
And so I grew to love it. And eventually drumming became, songs that you hear today. And I also used to write a lot of poems when I was a kid. I would write poems to girls. I would write poems.
Of course.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so poems, it has to rhyme. And then there's kind of a rhythm in a poem too. And so if you could put it into like something that taps, something that gives you rhythm, then eventually it could turn into a song. But the melody part also comes along in there too. Whenever, like I said, we'd go shoot guns and do our 4-wheels. Whenever we'd go out there, I was the one that would just be singing, freestyling.
Okay, yeah.
Whenever I'd go hunting with my cousin Moses, he would be driving and I would be the passenger. And so on the way, I would be singing. And then whenever I'd stop, he would stop the snow machine. And so it's kind of always been around.
Yeah.
Nice. How many of these girls got those Byron poems? So,
they got them
posted
framed
up on
up
the wall.
now.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a few, Well, that's cool. Like a lot of people that we've had on that have either grown up in villages or, spent a good portion of their life, they kind of drew. I think music played a big part because a lot of times you had like a Walkman or a CD player and you kind of had the same CDs that were on repeat. Did you have some music that you kind of, besides what you were doing and learning in school, did you have some, CDs that you kind of had on rotation, or were you downloading music?
Besides Elmo's World.
I know. Once you got past Elmo, what was there?
I would actually go to my cousin's house and I would take his iPad and listen to the Bumyo albums.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out them. We've been
Shout
trying
out
to
to
get them
Bumyo.
on for some time too. They're hard. They got a crazy schedule.
They just finished doing a tour up in I forgot where it was. I think somewhere in the east.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
But no, I would listen to Bumyo, and I think I know at least maybe like 15 of their songs by heart.
Oh yeah.
I would plug it up, listen, and then just kind of like lay in the bed and just kind of sing along with it. And then that was really pretty much it.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, you keep saying like you were singing like on the back of like a snow machine or just putting on headphones and singing out loud. Like, did you ever have kind of that shyness? Because I think about like singing out loud. I don't want to expose people to that. Like, I don't want to hurt their ears. Like,
we don't want that
Yeah,
either.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like you've always been.
That's why Kyle was a guitarist, not a vocalist.
Yeah. They said, shut up. Here, just strum.
Yeah.
But like, did you ever have that shyness, or were you always just open with singing?
I think I was open.
Yeah.
I mean, when you grow up in a small village, you see everyone so many times, you just kind of get accustomed to them.
Right.
There goes John riding his bike.
Yeah.
There goes.
There's Byron writing poems over there.
Yeah.
Keep them away from my daughter. Yeah, I gotcha. So that was just kind of the thing you were always doing. So then people kind of were like, he's always singing.
Yeah.
That's his thing.
Yeah.
I think that makes it easier when you kind of know everybody, because then there's not that awkwardness of like, the stranger's going to judge me. If you already know everybody, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't care. I'm just going to sing or do whatever.
I guess that's a good point. Yeah. Growing up, I mean, I never grew up in a small town like you did, but I would imagine, because like where I was from, everybody knew each other. And it was like easier to be more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming it's probably like it was similar to that, as in like you're able to like, say and do whatever you kind of feel like, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you walk the same streets every single day. It's just pretty much a loop, and then like you could go in between on some boardwalks, but you really can't get away from anyone out there.
Okay, and so you're in the village and you're finding this love for music and singing and drumming, getting that rhythm too, because that's not an easy thing for a lot of people. My brother told me
he had zero rhythm.
My brother told me I didn't have any rhythm. So you know what I did? I worked on getting rhythm as hard as I could. And so, I mean, you're working on it. You're working on your craft. You're like, okay, this is what I want to do. Is that something like you were like, this is what I want to do?
That's really what it was like. I wasn't sure if it was going to work though, but I knew that's something that I wanted to do. And, as a kid, I kind of had a sense of just like, okay, so everyone's working. You might as well try to do something that you enjoy doing.
Sure.
And then so it's kind of hard as a musician out here. And the biggest thing that really helped was just kind of creating content, creating videos, creating posts. And I started doing that when I was 13 years old. I made my own song at 12. And then for 3 years, content creating videos after videos. I didn't get my first show until I was 16.
Damn. So 4 years.
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah,
4 years. And so, what do you mean, like creating content? Because I'm familiar with your Facebook page because of the short film. So, like, what made you want to start being like, okay, you know what? I'm done with the 825 people in my village. I want to go national, baby. And like, you're like, all right, I turn to Facebook, and then like, what made you want to do that and post, videos?
I'm not sure. I think I just wanted to get a way to get my music out and not having equipment like this. You just kind of have a cell phone. And so I think that was even before voice memos on the iPhone came out. But I just put my phone on the side and just start drumming. Just kind of doing freestyles, whatever, singing about sitting here, sitting on my ass, wanting to go to the dance, whatever.
Yeah. It was all freestyle?
Yeah, they're all freestyle.
Off the top of the dome?
Yeah, they're off the top of the dome.
Bud.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
And so you were just setting up your phone on video?
Yeah.
And then recording that and then sending it to Facebook and uploading it, essentially.
Yeah.
So like no editing, no EQing, anything like that really then, right?
No.
Just going in raw. I like it.
Yeah, and then there was one thing on there that I did that kind of helped with it was just speed up the video so it had that high-pitched voice sounding like the Chipmunks.
Oh, gotcha.
And then that kind of helped a little bit. And then I started doing like funny things, just being dumb on like in front of the camera. Just
trying things.
Yeah, you're 14, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd put on.
I was gonna say, man, if I had the internet at 14 or even around that time, God, I would have made so many mistakes and I would have been such an idiot, dude. So it's kind of,
I can see that. Yeah.
oh man, the videos I did make, I never posted online. And like now I showed my wife like stuff that we did back when I was like 15, 16. And she's like, good thing these never made it to the like, you are an idiot.
Stay off the internet.
Like, yeah. Like, my creativity was kept under wraps, and luckily the internet never saw that. So it took a lot of guts to kind of put stuff out there, is what I'm saying. Mostly because, like, yeah, of course, you're in a band, you want to play music. Like, you know, now it's like second nature. Like, I got to start an Instagram, I got to start a Facebook, I got to put it on YouTube. But back then, it was like, you know, I could keep it to myself, you know, and like, okay, you know, and also another thing too, we've talked about this a lot, perfectionism. You could be like, well, you know, the music is off, or I flubbed a word, or the EQ's off, like what Kyle was saying, like, or I could edit it, put an intro, put an outro, put a beat on it, whatever. Like, you didn't do it. You were just like, it's good as it is.
It would take, I want to say 70 to 80 tries to get the right video. So I'd just be sitting down there for like 45 minutes to an hour just for a minute and a half video.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of perfectionism.
Yeah, there
too.
is.
I feel
Sure,
that.
yeah.
I feel that. That's very, I feel like every artist we have on here, there's a little bit of it in everyone, and we all see it. So you're posting them on Facebook. You're getting these songs. You're just, you know, I think that's beautiful because you were getting into the rhythm of just creating content before creating content was a thing, but then also you're creating a rhythm of music. Like, you're getting into the style, you're understanding like your voice. You're just, you know, I think that's the best way to do it, is just to do it, right? Mm-hmm. That's what everybody says. So you're creating this content, you're posting things. When does it kind of start to like, oh, okay, this is something like legit? Like, I got something here. When did that start to feel, instead of just like putting it out to the void?
When I had my first show, when I was 16, they asked me to come here to Anchorage from Village, and before that, I haven't been to Anchorage for maybe 8 years, and so from the Village, and they flew me here. It was just me, my backpack, and my drum, because they only had me here for a couple of days. I flew in, I did my performance, which was about 30 minutes, and then they had me flying a plane, and I went back. And then luckily I got
true superstar status right there.
Luckily I got some footage of that performance, and then I uploaded it. Once they saw that they could hire me to do performances, it just kind of started coming, and then eventually, you know, the word would get around. And then for people who plan these events, it's kind of like a small circle. They know of each other. And so I feel like once I went to that one show right there, then someone who was at that show, they went back home or wherever, and they were like, hey, we saw this kid do this, and so why don't we have him do the same thing here? And then eventually they just started to see that, hey, you know, he's a performer. He could come perform here.
Sure.
And so
how nervous were you for that first show?
Oh man, I was nervous.
You're 16 and basically being flown to Anchorage to be like,
yeah,
you're something special, kid.
Yeah.
You better perform.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. You were being flown. My first show was like in front of 2 people, and it was like my friends, right? It was like my local friends. Like, you were actually taken out of your comfort zone and put it in another like zone. And then, okay, perform. And then it was your first time. Like, I would imagine it was probably a little nerve-wracking. Yeah.
And by then, I wasn't fluent in English. So the only language that I could really speak was Yupik. And it was kind of hard for me to, you know, get what I wanted to say out.
Sure. Oh, wow.
And so they asked me to, it was originally supposed to be a 45-minute show. But they wanted me to speak, you know, in front of these soon-to-be teachers who are going to the villages. And, you know, being 16, what do you know? I mean, you don't know that much. So
absolutely,
you don't know nothing.
I never listened to any of you in this room. I hate teachers. Every 16-year-old.
Yeah. And so I cut that 45 minutes to 30 minutes, and you know that I did get paid from that. And then you know I realized that maybe, you know, the fee that I have could grow, because by then I already knew, you know, of artists and how much they could get for shows and things and such. And so the first show right there, that really helped.
Yeah. So on the Facebook, like, where are you posting this to a personal profile, or like there was a page, correct?
Yeah, there was a page.
And so you started this page?
Yeah. It started at 13 years old.
Okay, just at the age that you can have social media.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And what's the page called?
I Sing You Dance.
Okay, and so you start this page, and so people are you're posting videos, and they're starting to follow this page organically, like people.
Yeah, where do they find you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook and like the community is like everyone knows each other on Facebook, and so one person shares it. You get 2 other people sharing that, and then it starts to spread, and the audience just starts to grow. It was just like it was something that they wanted to see a young kid singing in their native language, keeping the culture alive, and that's what I wanted to do too. And I was hoping that they would see that, and they did. Thankfully.
That's awesome because Steve and I have paid for far too much advertising to get our businesses out there because nobody really wants to see what we do. It's awesome that you got that at
organic reach, baby.
I mean, so you did this 13 and you're getting, what are some of the numbers on the videos you were getting, like view wise?
So 13, the page started off at about, I remember 273 followers,
which is still pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's 273 people. I mean,
273 individual people that clicked follow, or like, or whatever.
I'm pretty sure that was most of my family on there.
Hey,
actually, you should be like, there should be 825 of you guys. What the hell? I see you every
door
day.
to door.
Yeah.
And then, so I really didn't get much followers in the first year. It went all the way up to about 827. That's the whole village.
Yeah, the whole village finally got over. Yeah.
And then I forget, there's this one video that I posted. It went from 800 to 1,300 in a day, and then by the next week it was about 7,000, and then 2 weeks later it was at 13,000, 14, and then about from 3 years from the time I created the page, I had about 28,000 followers. And then another 3 years later, now I'm at 45,000.
Wow. Crap, it's that big?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's insane. How does that feel, as in like you were like, oh, I'm doing something that people like? As an artist, I feel like that's very, I don't know, you're like, oh, rewarding, right? Like, oh, my satisfaction. Like, and so like, what does it feel like to you to have that many people be like, I want to see you sing, or, and I'll dance?
I was never really sure how to feel about it. I mean, it's kind of surprising. It's a little scary too. You have all those people watching, and you're just kind of like, you feel like you have to do something for them. And
right.
You feel like you have like this position that you have to like you fill. And it was always mostly positive though, so that kind of helped.
Yeah.
They were saying, appreciate you for doing this. My kids are learning how to speak the language a little bit more now, and they're learning how to sing this song. There was a student from Antioch who was doing the talent show at their school. He did one of my songs and he got first place. And then, all the good things, it just made it a little bit easier and kind of helped me know that I was on the right track.
Love that.
A little bit, yeah.
I love that. Okay, so you're the timeline of events is you're making music, but are you still drumming, or were you actually like making music at that time? You're still drumming?
Yeah, I'm still
at this
drumming.
point. Okay, so when did it transition to you actually writing songs? And like, because the song that we heard, very different from just bang on a drum. There's beat, there's freaking 808s, there's hi-hats and stuff. So when did it come from that to being like, oh, okay, I want to get it produced?
It was when I was 17. I remember I was in my bedroom and I was just laying in bed listening to music. I was listening to the Lumineers, and they have this part in the song where it's just like the instrumentals. And so I know that it comes up, and then so I kind of prepare myself for when it comes up. And I don't know what made me do it, but I just kind of started rapping along with the instrumental in the language. So the first thing that I said was "Dotu, and that in itself to me already sounded like a dope ass first bar. And then so I just had to think of something, and then I eventually came up with this song called "Dotu,"
which means
let's go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dotlu. And so it went Dotlu. Quinga you bugo, the ringelach do, doten kanrak, lo dam ni jugnika, li jekuden, salud, kakichingai duden, Quinga dogam jayatlu rasika. And so those first few bars, I knew I had something. I mean, you've never really heard your big rap, and I didn't want to, ruin that. So I just kind of created this video, and that video really, it did pretty good. It amassed over 1,500 shares, maybe
Hell yeah, dude.
30, 45,000 views.
How
Wow.
cool is that?
Mm.
You're
Yeah,
like, okay, let's
Yeah.
stepping up a notch. Let's go, baby. I love that.
Had you ever heard of any native language rapping before that point, really?
Not really, no.
Because, like, thinking about it, I'm like, it makes sense. Like, a lot of people want to preserve what their culture. And I mean, I feel like that's a lot of hip hop and rap and all this stuff is like talking about your culture growing up and all this stuff. And so it's like, it makes sense that coming from a village, you want to talk about how you grew up. And so, but you're right. Like, I haven't ever seen anything before in my life that I'm like, oh, he's rapping in his native tongue. And for you to just kind of do that, and then people obviously, it was like you filled the demand that was there that nobody knew needed to be filled, essentially. Like, you just kind of like,
Well, I mean, to piggyback what you're saying, you're keeping the culture alive, but like in a very modern way,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that's, title of the podcast right there. I think that's beautiful, right? Like, goes back to what we were saying in the beginning. I think that's really cool because it's like a statement, right? You're keeping the culture alive. Okay, so you're producing these songs and you're getting them, a little bit more bigger, right? Filling them out with instruments and whatnot. And then what happens next, basically? So what in your musical journey, where are you thinking you want to head to, so on?
So I don't know how to produce beats. I find the beats either on BeatStars or on YouTube. And the way I look for a beat is just kind of like figuring out what kind of song that I'm going to make, whether it's something that you're going to want to get up and dance to, or whether it's just like, a rap song. And what I essentially look for is just kind of like hype type beat or a piano hype type beat. And I buy the license on that. And then I have to figure out what I have to sing about first. I have this one song called Talk Stupid, where I'm pretty much just talking shit to, not specifically to anyone, but
Kyle.
Is it to me, Byron?
No.
Okay. Whew, I was worried.
But you have you have so many songs, and they all talk about different things.
Sure.
And I guess it's just wanting to make a song that talks about that.
Yeah. So you're your lyrics first, beat second, or
Good
beat
segue.
in that?
Good segue. Yes. Process. Let's talk about that.
Lyrics, melody, and then beat.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Because I would imagine it would have been like beat and then like the opposite, beat, melody, lyrics, right? I've heard of that. So your lyrics first. So what inspires you to like write? When that lightning strikes?
There are different things. So sometimes I want to talk about family. Like I want to express how much I care for them in a song. I mean, it's kind of hard to do, in person. But I would do that in a song, or I just wanted to hype myself up. Say things that you hear rappers say.
From the bottom.
Yeah, things that you that make you hype, like you said.
Yeah.
And just good vibes.
Yeah. Is your stuff changing? So you've been in Anchorage, you said 8 years?
3 years now.
Oh, just 3 years.
Yeah.
So you were in the village till you were 22?
I was 18, and then I moved out here for a year, so about 18.
Okay. And so is your lyrics and everything kind of evolving, because it sounded like a lot of the early stuff was about the village life, and now that you're kind of in the big city, Anchorage.
Big city.
I mean,
compared to 825 people,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's huge compared to.
Right. So is your stuff changing in terms of like now you're talking about different things that you see on a daily basis, or different life that you live here, or is it still always kind of about the growing up?
It's different experiences now.
Yeah.
Like in the song that we just heard, in the last verse I talk about how me and my friends went down to Salmon Fest for the festival because I was performing there.
Oh, nice.
And we got to hang out with some of the band members. That was pretty cool.
You see the honey drops?
Yeah,
Dude, love them. Oh man. Anyway, sorry, continue.
and it just talks about kind of like experiences that I've had.
Sure.
Because it makes sense when it's something that I've experienced, because then I could get into mood of it rather than just kind of like saying lyrics.
Yeah.
Just give it a little bit of oomph.
Yeah, I like that. I think that for an English speaking person, I think that kind of comes through. You can feel that like a little bit of an energy when you like that song we listened to. You're like, hell yeah, that gets me hyped, right? But then other songs, I can feel there's like an emotion behind it that you have, and so it's like you can feel it, even though I'm like I don't know what he's saying, but I can feel a certain way. Now it might not be exactly how you were like thinking, right? Because I think as in like we write music and bands and whatever, and it's like we can write one thing, but then to someone else it can mean something totally different. So it's a complete different thing. It's like I don't understand what you're saying, but also I can feel the emotion and it makes me feel something different, right? So I think that's going over language barriers, and it's kind of like connection in some far way, right? Which I think is really cool. Okay, so that was your process, which I'm obsessed with, the creative process and kind of figuring out what makes artists tick and what kind of goes into a little peek behind the curtains, if you will. So yeah, you roll in, you move to Anchorage, you're still working on music. Like what are some things, what are some memorable shows that you've played? Because you said you played Salmon Fest, which I didn't even know, which is fucking awesome, right? Because that's one of the biggest festivals.
I was the first one to perform on the new amphitheater.
No shit, really?
Yeah. I was the first one to perform on there, which was.
You should wear
cool.
a T-shirt with that.
Yeah,
like you should hand out stickers. Like I was first. Like that. You should wear that with a badge of honor.
I'm the first native rapper.
Yeah.
But some memorable shows. The most recent one would be the Brooklyn Bowl in Las Vegas. That was a pretty good one.
What's the Brooklyn Bowl? The
Brooklyn Bowl it's a venue that's kind of near the Strip.
Okay.
I'm not sure how else to describe it more, but who is it? This R&B singer named Tank. He just performed there recently.
Okay.
And I did some shows over at the Smithsonian American Indian Museum. That I did a show there, and
wild.
I did a show in Finland. That was pretty cool. I did a show in Greenland. Canada's always fun too.
Wild, dude. You've been all over. Man.
Do you have like a manager of some sort, or is it all?
You're like, you're looking at him, baby.
Because I'm available. No, I'm just. But like, so how's all this come through? Like, how do people reach out to you for shows and stuff? Is it you got an email
slide into
they're
DMs.
in the DMs?
Yeah.
A lot of it sliding into the DMs.
Yeah. Byron, I need one of those poems. And by the way, yeah. So they just hit you up. They're like, we like what you're doing. We want to get you to Greenland. That's dope. I haven't got that yet.
No, we're still waiting on that call.
Nope.
Cool. Well, let's listen to one more song that you picked out for us. Now this one. Now, can you say it? The English language. It's someday.
Someday.
And
Kagutayima.
Say that again.
Kagutayima.
All right. Let me play that because I think I'll butcher that if I try to say it. Yeah, turn this up.
Kinau kwang dun bilnga ha sao kwang dun bin reduk maybe I'm too lazy nga bit sakan ridam ken for being too kudunga tau gam mek chong recha ko wadam kinga ni chug ni ka ja bukh na para kurili ni tau ram big na pa dagen ka i gang na khir khaz do kham gi met lach do lis Sastu Madaria Cutin Kaishun Lisa Rungaza Asin Rilang Wan Bing Nakuten. That's all that could be said. Shuach kalaf da kong neuk Vuk tak als honger of China giunig ik hem neuk Na jak juni aan een utgestrak lugo Jimere jongen nani jak jong neking aan jigge kom go Jatje kogar naar een nation ridaka Bitaka ritam kin down uit de jigaka Baka wit jak kwad nation ridaka Dagom bit konga ging aan jo rot lemma Aku kaye ma wani kwa chali tumni dangig zooma jigaka jiu khamni Jan retorna shun relamku manna dais vorig jagunne agayu na shun reda dan balaranga buya vidurelini iki uskela so chimiruga o tam chapes nasia Jelini na shuya gut laga ka shoni ka yug balas khadilan ka yak singh bet khoya kumchi khwa shu wida ku vetanimni ikayug baus khog wita shilg bet khoya wi kam kenas bejakne kaguta yima wita guma bagani es betu wita jikudin janimni aku kayema wani kwa chalitimni dangh sunga jika ka jiu khamni Retorna shun relamku manna dais vorig jagunne agayu na shun reda dan balaranga kuya vidurelini iki uskelach tot chimiruga tugum chapich naksiakto
See, there's that emotion I was talking about, right? So what is that one about?
It talks about how one day that everything that I'm working for is going to show up in front of me. And if it doesn't, that's okay because it all came from my heart.
Oh, I love that.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
John Kerry was rocking out that one too. I'm just assuming he's got his shades on.
That's Kyle's bit now.
I know. I just picture like when we need to get to that part because I mean you got to play for some pretty famous people.
Yeah,
I mean like
crazy.
And so what was that experience like showing up and where was it actually at that you got to play?
So that was at the what is it? The State Department in DC.
Yeah.
And that was actually pretty fun. That was fun. I got to see the table where the Declaration of Independence was signed.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. I got to see some of the courtrooms in there. And I mean, I felt out of place, not gonna lie.
Well, sure.
You know, it's just,
Anybody would.
Yeah. And you look at the room and everything that's in there, and then you see all the people that are in there, and then you see like I had like pants on, and then I had like bilugurs and my qasbuk, and then everyone's in like suits and ties and dresses.
Yeah.
I really didn't think anything of it. I mean, the only thing that I was thinking of is just, I have to play the song well and, just try to be on your best behavior. But
right.
Best behavior. Yeah. And now you're not turning the table over.
No.
Or anything. Yeah.
So how did you choose when you do these types of things like that? How do you choose the songs that you're actually going to play? Do they get like you had 30 minutes or 45 minutes at your first show? Like, are they like you get 3 songs or 5 songs? And how do you choose those songs?
I asked if they want to hear some songs first, so I asked for suggestions of what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. And then I start off kind of with the slower sounding songs or just kind of something that brings up the house. And it really depends on who my audience is, because
Sure.
I've had audiences like in schools, at receptions, and then I've done my own concerts, and so it really depends on who I'm playing for. But how I decided is I just kind of start off slow, and then I bring up the pace up, and then slow it down and bring it up, and
Yeah.
and
A
also
little roller coaster during the show. Yeah.
yeah, and do some I have like songs that like I said, depending on my audience. Like I have a cousin song. It's like "Don't Date Your Cousin," which is kind of messed up, but
That's good advice.
Some people need to still hear that, man. It's a message that transcends time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I have that one, and then I also have a song called "My Grandma's Last Words," which is a song with the lyrics that she said from on her deathbed. And so there's two different it really depends.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I could be sad, it could be moving, it could be fun, it could be hype.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, that's important. I mean, there's a lot of different people that you could play in front of, and some people, like you're saying, respond better to certain types of music or certain feelings that you're trying to evoke out of them. And so that's going to change from show to show based on age and where you're at. So I think that's the best way to go about it. Like the podcast, people will always say, like, what kind of podcast are you? And they're like, well, sometimes we touch on serious stuff. Sometimes we try to say it just depends on who we're talking to, you know, essentially. So you always got to adapt like that. But that's awesome because, I mean, you've gotten to play, I mean, we think about shows that we've played in our years, and I mean, you've gotten to play some awesome shows as you're still a young kid. I mean, it's weird saying that, but you're 25. You're still a kid, and like you probably have a long future of playing some awesome shows. And is there anything coming up with shows that is kind of on the horizon?
Yeah. So let's see. I've got one in Greenland, and there's a few shows that I missed out on due to unforeseen circumstances. I was supposed to go to Gamble. That's one of the islands close to Russia, and I was supposed to perform at the Arctic Symposium that was at the Denana Center, I think, a couple weeks back. And then what's the other one? Oh yeah, and I was supposed to go to Minneapolis. But I wish all of those fell through. It kind of sucks that. But I've got Greenland coming up, and
That's cool, man.
I know, Greenland of all places. Why is it Greenland?
Yeah,
like what's
going
there?
back. You've already played there.
I like Greenland.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because like the native peoples here, the native peoples in Canada, and the native people of Russia and Greenland, they're all kind of the same. When I was in Greenland last year, there was a person from Canada that spoke their language there, and there was a person from Greenland that spoke their language there. When we counted to 10 in our languages, it sounded the same. It sounded the same. And so I think, we get a lot of audiences from those areas because we're all in the Arctic Circle. We're all Inuit, is what we would call ourselves, Inuit. And, it's fun. It's fun over there.
Yeah, so even though you're in total different places of the world, technically still spoke the same language, which, and, so it'd be like, hearing something like a songs that you hear in a radio station, but it's in your own language for the first time. I would imagine that like is a beautiful moment for people to hear, whether they're in Greenland or in Russia or in Canada or wherever they are. I would imagine that's like, oh shit, yeah, like this is dope. Probably not. They probably don't say it that way, but
they say exactly that.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that one Spider-Man movie, the newest one. Was it No Way Home?
Yeah,
where there were 3 different versions of the Spider-Man. It's kind of almost like that.
Spoiler alert. No, just kidding.
Yeah,
but where there's 3 different types of like Inuit, but we're all the same, but we're not the same.
Yeah.
If that makes sense,
right? So can you explain that? Because I mean, like, I feel like and probably a lot of people feel like this. They don't understand the different tribes, the different things. Can you explain like what Inuit is in terms of the big picture?
So Inuit is what a lot of people would call us Eskimo. That's essentially what it is. Inuit are people who live in the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
We're the northernmost part of the globe. And a lot of the diet for Inuit people consists of like, either reindeer or seal or, whale, things that we eat off the land.
Sure.
And I'm not really sure how to describe it.
Yeah. So like when you say that Yupik is the
Yupik.
language, so is that kind of like a smaller branch of or like how does that work? Like,
yes, that's a smaller branch of Inuit. So there's Yupik and then Inuit for the people who live in Barrow. They would be considered Inuit too.
Gotcha.
But then the Canadians, they have Inuit and Dene, which is like the Indian. The Dene wouldn't be Inuit, I don't think.
Okay.
And then the Greenlandic people would be Inuit.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I feel terrible. I've lived in Alaska 95% of my life, and I've never like taken a deep dive on this stuff. And I feel like that's a part of Alaska that like you should kind of have a knowledge about. That I'm like, I need to read up on it, and I haven't, and I want to, because we've had several people on the podcast tell us stuff, and I'm like, man, I feel bad because I haven't like done my own research on everything. So I appreciate at least the 2 cents on like Inuit, because it's like I've always heard that and I'm always just too scared to ask like, well, what's that mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's what this podcast is about. It's like we're learning because like, we come from different places. We're two white dudes from, up middle class religious backgrounds, right? And so it's like we're trying to like, we're like, shit, man, that's like,
we don't know much.
So like narrow, so small, and then like open up your fucking mind. Like, let's learn from Byron, who raps in his own language. Let's have so-and-so on or so-and-so on. So it's like it's fixing literally our worldview and trying to like gain some perspective. So appreciate you dropping that knowledge on us. One of the things I think, is really important for artists is to kind of give advice, onto people. And it's kind of a special like thing because, you have a crazy story where you come from a very small town where there's not much to do. There's not art happening. And it's funny because you were like, there's no restaurant, you said, right?
There's no.
And I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But then you said no theater.
No.
And for some reason, I was like, that's
the worst part.
Honestly, like I love, like I went to the theater the other night, right? I like love art and culture and watching music, live music, and that sometimes that happens in a restaurant and you get, both worlds. You didn't grow up in that. And so like one of my, things I would imagine is someone in that moment now, you 10 years ago, what's advice you would give them? Like they have this calling to music or film or, whatever. Could be writing poems, could be poetry. I don't know. But like, what advice would you give them to be in that moment where they are and to enjoy where they are and who they are?
Don't be scared. If you have an idea, go with it. Don't think about it too much because you've heard people say trust your gut. That's really what it is. If you think something would be cool, then go ahead and do it. And don't be scared because that's really what's gonna hold you back from what you're trying to do. And you've heard a lot of people say that you got to make mistakes. And one thing that I would say for someone out in the village who's wanting to make it out is don't be afraid to try different things. You be funny, be serious. Talk about what you think would be. Talk about what you think other people would want to know. Don't put off something too much, and don't talk about your ideas too much with other people. Keep it to yourself until it's done.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like that. We've talked about that too with goals.
That is something. Yeah. That is something I'm now learning because I'm always like, if I put it out there, like it'll make me want to do it more. But actually it's, we were talking, we had a buddy on the podcast and it's like that right there is that dopamine hit that like, you're like, okay, I'm good. I don't need that. I don't need to chase the dopamine. I said it out loud to other people and they think this about me. So I don't even actually need that thing.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm going to run a marathon one day.
Right.
And they're like, when are you going to start training? I'm just gonna do it one day. So you know what? I'm good for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big thing about
exactly like that.
not talking about it's easy to talk about stuff, but you have to put in the work. Like you said, it was 3 years between posting and having your first show. And at 13, that's like an eternity. Like to us, 3 years is nothing. But when you're 13, 3 years is a long time. You know, that's
3 years is a long time. It's the same amount of time for everybody.
it is the same technically, but as
We
a child,
perceive it differently.
time goes much slower.
Yeah.
And so the
Especially
patience,
out there where you don't have much to do. I would imagine. Yeah.
Are you the biggest person to come out of that village? Do you think?
Yeah.
What is?
Hell yeah. That's dope. That's cool to say.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I think so.
Yeah. Like
Just in the history of it, you mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Chicxulub
like-
became a establishment in 1964.
okay.
So
Earthquake year.
maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is there
wow.
any people that you can think of come out of the village, athletes or different people that have done
there's
pretty cool things?
My uncle on Bumio.
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
done
Another
pretty cool
musician.
things.
Yeah. I mean,
It's kinda hard.
800 people. I mean,
Yeah.
like we have, not how many people do we have in Alaska, Stephen?
1 million, dude.
Not quite.
725?
yeah, something like that.
725,000?
And I mean, the people in Alaska that, you think of for sports and all that is very rare. So, I mean, to come out of a place that has 800 people is extremely rare. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of dope.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. And what's next for you? Are you working on new music? Are you
Yeah, I'm
gonna
working
drop
on
you
music.
gonna drop a new track on the Go Fix Yourself podcast? Or no, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
I'm working on new music right now, but I'm kind of in the middle of moving right now, so I don't have my recording equipment out ready.
What are you recording on?
I have a laptop. Is it a Dell XP laptop that I connect to my monitor?
What's your DAW?
I use Reason.
Oh, you use Reason?
Yeah, I
No
use
way.
Reason 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was what I started on, Reason. And I was like obsessed with it for the longest time. But now I use Ableton. But I love Reason. For those who don't know, DAW means Digital Audio Workstation. And that's where you create the music. Reason is just something you can record your vocals into, but you can also record MIDI, which is like how you control drums.
What's that mean?
Notes. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on this. But okay, so you're using Reason. I was just kind of curious about that. And then another technical thing, microphone.
I'm using a Rode, and then I'm using what's that red audio?
Oh, Scarlett.
Scarlett.
I have that too. That's
I'm
what,
using that.
I have 3 of them. Hell yeah. It gets the job done.
It gets the job done.
Yeah.
It's not much. It's really not much. It's not about what equipment you have. It's about what you do with it.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
That's what we always, I mean,
God, I get so wrapped up in gear though sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well.
because that's like telling people what you're doing. You buy gear so you can be like,
yeah.
oh, I just need this one extra piece of gear and then I'm going to put out the best stuff ever.
Yeah.
But I just need this one more piece of gear before I can do that.
Oh, man, I'm so guilty of that. Like,
Yeah.
I need this camera to make this kind of art. Or this kind of film, right? Like that's what I'm like. Oh, I need this, and then when you get it, and you're like, it's so easy to fall into
Well,
that
I need
trap.
a filter for it now. So like, then I can,
I got it. Yeah, then I need a cage,
Yeah.
and then I need this, and then I need that, and I don't know where the Italian accent come from, but it's an easy trap to fall into, of course. But I'm always curious, like now with your process for audio, are you mixing, mastering these tracks
No.
yourself?
No, I'm not.
No.
I don't know how to do that either. I found someone on Fiverr to do that for
Hell
me.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, he lives in London. He's done some tracks for Beyonce, Lil Wayne, Lil Jon. Who else was it?
the little gang. Yeah, he's got everybody covered. Yeah.
So he's got those in his credits, and he does pretty good. He worked on both of the tracks that we just listened to.
Oh, no
nice.
way. The beats are great. The mix is great too, that's another thing out of Alaska. I think is like, I would say it's fairly new. I think when we were baby bands, it was like shitty. we would record and then we would do it all ourselves because we were broke, right? And then so you'd be like this muddy track and everything was bleeding through. And it's like, I think now it's like the level of professionalism that is in this state. So you're recording everything, but you're sending it to the dude and then he's sending it back to you. That was like unheard of in our time. Like send it to someone else, electronic mail.
And that was expensive.
It was
too.
very expensive. Now it's on Fiverr and like it's so much more affordable to people and so much more available, which I think is the coolest thing. Yeah. So I mean, I think we kind of got off track, but you're writing new music. Are you got a label date or record date or something you're working towards?
I won't find out until I start recording because I was aiming for this year.
Okay.
I wanted to do another album, but like I said, it's not done yet. But like you said, you say it and then it just kind of gets pulled off. And so right now I'm just in the process of writing my songs. I've already got, I want to say 4 or 5 written now.
Oh.
And so I don't record them yet until it's absolutely finished. And
There's that perfectionism. Yeah. There it is.
So when you're sitting down, like let's say you have a song ready to go, like do you do something pre-recording that like gets you in the zone or something before you? Because I mean, I'm assuming you have the setup in your bedroom or your office of some sort, right? And so like what gets you in the zone and you're like, I'm about to record this track. Do you do anything to kind of get focused or you listen to, I mean, it sounds like you like hype music and stuff like that. You listen to something to get you jacked up before you go into the studio.
Lil Jon, Beyonce.
Yeah. Kind of, I'm in self-affirmation.
Right.
It's like, oh, you made these songs, you could do this. You made this album. And I like to get elevated too. Just get in the right mind.
Sure.
Listen to the track a couple of times and listen to, my tracks and especially the ones that I'm very proud of, just kind of remind myself, you're capable of doing this and what's going to stop you from creating another one.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And it's just, you just got to know and you really got to believe in that you could do it. Sometimes I like to freestyle my tracks. And then it just depends on what the mood is. It just depends. Sometimes I'll smoke a little bit of weed and it kind of helps too.
Get elevated in a different way.
Get loosened up a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you ever kind of go in with the mindset like this song could be the one that like hits the most people, like reaches the most people, like kind of like this could be it? Because I'm always wondering that with content creators, like you're always one piece of content from just like blasting off. Granted, that doesn't happen for everybody, but like it could be. Like that could be the one song that launches you into who knows what.
There was a few times that I did that, but a lot of times, like sometimes it's not the case.
Sure.
And then there are times where I created a song that I thought would just be kind of like one of the throwaways, but people are listening to it the most.
This is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost threw that one away. It's garbage.
Yeah. Well, now you have to play it every show.
Yeah. That's what you get known for.
Oh, man. Well, we're stoked on you. We're stoked on the music you're making and, keeping the culture alive and teaching us about the culture because, here we are on native land, like your hat says, and we have to learn. We have to be more proactive about learning about where our land came from and who is around us and the culture that comes with it. Because, even like, there's great places like Alaska Native Heritage Center that are doing a great job, teaching that you are doing that yourself. Bumua is doing that, So it's kind of cool to see that there's a community happening here. And so we're stoked. We're stoked on you, man. And we want you to know that we're in your corner. So if you ever need 2 English white rappers on your tracks.
Bodyguards for Greenland.
That's so much better than my thing.
Yeah. It's like, I'm security, obviously.
Yeah, clearly you look at you look at us and you're like, security?
I'm scared of those guys.
Actually, oh man, yeah. Could we be security, but like have like earpieces but like pretend?
Mine's not going to be plugged in. I'm just going to put it in.
Yeah. Anyway, well, where can people find you? Where can people, find out more about your music?
You could go on YouTube. Spotify is great as well. Apple Music's great too. I do have 2 artist names on Spotify and iTunes. One of them is my first name and last name, Byron Nicholai, and then the other one is Ukila. You should find some of my songs on there. And YouTube is where a lot of my content is, and Facebook as well, and Instagram.
Is it still that Facebook page?
Yeah, I
Same
Sing
one?
You Dance.
I Sing You Dance.
What's the Instagram?
Instagram is Byron Nicholai.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll tag all this stuff on our profiles if anybody's interested. But man, we're stoked. Thank you so much for coming and sharing some music with us and sharing your process and who you are and what you're doing, man. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and the bodyguard position's still open.
Yeah.
But we're available.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, man.
Yep. I want to say goodbye in Yupik, which is pretty
Absolutely.
cool. It's Bilra, and that means continue to be. So it's not necessarily goodbye. It means, just keep doing you. So
Keep doing.
Bilra, yeah.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I try to say that?
Yeah, it's Bilra.
Biura.
Yep, exactly like
Hey,
that.
let's go.
She's just being nice, okay?
Yeah.
She's like, that was dog.
That was the worst.
That guy's not a bodyguard.
Yeah, he just lost the
You just
position,
lost it.
dude. Oh, yeah. That's good. That's a good. Ending.
Yeah,
Awesome.
solid.
Thanks for tuning in. Kyle and Steven will be back with a new episode next week. In the meantime, check out gofixyourselfpodcast.com. And remember to always go fix yourself.